Hi, friends. Welcome to the first of a three-part series called Porch Talks with Big Jon. My name is Jon Estes, also known here in the wide world of Woodlands Camp as Big Jon. And I'm telling you in advance that this platform is currently set for 3 episodes because, one, I've never done this before and I might be terrible at it, and two, because you might not like it. But in the event that I'm not terrible at it and or that you do like it, this conversation is really designed to help you grow in the fundamentals of life, leadership, and ministry. And I'll just tell you up front, I am by no means the foremost expert in any of the three, but I have lived a little bit of life. I turned 50 this year, so I've been around the sun a handful of times and learned some things there. I've served in leadership in a lot of different capacities on a lot of different levels, and I've been in full-time ministry for over a quarter of a century. So again, I've picked up some things along the way. And my hope is that those things that I've learned, some of which the hard way, will be helpful for you in whatever age and stage of life that you're in. A little bit about me. I'm currently the CEO of Woodlands Camp. Woodlands is a Christian camp and retreat center located in northeast Georgia, a little town called Cleveland, Georgia, birthplace of Cabbage Patch Dolls, if you're into that kind of thing. I'm not. And kind of what we do here at Woodlands, really twofold. During the summer months, we run 4 programs every week on parallel tracks. So we've got a traditional camp program. It is your classic summer camp program for elementary, middle, and high school age kids. While that's going on, we've got an outdoor adventure component called Extreme Camp, where instead of sleeping in cabins, kids sleep in these treehouse hammock shelters out in the woods, and every day they leave site and go on some kind of extreme adventure. While that's going on, we have a third program called Woodlands Freestyle. The idea behind Freestyle, for 25 years, kids packed their bags and came to camp here at Woodlands. With Freestyle, we're packing up Woodlands and taking camp to them. So this summer, we'll send out three teams of 24 college students on a 10-week road trip. And every week, each team will be in a different community running weeks of Woodlands day camps on a church or school campus. And then our final program is a leadership development program called SALT, designed for 16 to 18-year-olds. So during the summer months, we are all systems go on summer camp, creating this space where we disconnect kids from devices, disconnect them from the noise and influence of culture, put them in an environment like summer camp where they're having the time of their lives poured into by our college staff, sitting under the teaching and preaching of God's word. And we found that in that environment, it is just a rich environment for seeing their hearts transformed for Jesus. And that's really what we're all about. So that happens during the summer. During the non-summer months, during the fall, winter, and spring, we open our facility. We've got 150 acres in northeast Georgia, currently with soon to be 650 beds, on our way to around 1,000. So we open the facility as a retreat center. We allow churches to come and we host their elementary, middle, high school, college age, grown-up couples, leadership team retreats. So we provide a place, we provide food service, we run retail environments and attractions, and they come in and kind of do their own programming. I started Woodlands in 1997. Camp is not what I thought I was going to do when I grew up. I actually studied business in school and was tracking toward the business world. And maybe I'll tell you the full story someday down the road. But the short story is after a handful of years in the business world, I was in commercial banking. Through a mission trip in Ukraine, God started to change the desires of my heart away from business and into ministry. And short story long story short, there it is. I moved to Georgia when I was 24 years old and started Woodlands. No idea what I was doing. So all of whatever ministry principles I've learned along the way, we've kind of had to learn the hard way. But in the 25, almost 26 years since starting Woodlands, God has been so kind. We have grown from a 2-bit nothing back in 1997 to this next summer, Lord willing, we'll have over 10,000 kids come through our programs. So super thankful for that. If you know anything about Woodlands, the idea of porch talks is not foreign to you. If you're not familiar with Woodlands, we designed all of our cabins with full wraparound porches, top and bottom, front and back, lined with rocking chairs to create an environment where conversations can take place. So every night, our counselors and campers sit out on those porches in those rocking chairs and just talk about what's going on in their lives. We invite campers to come out and if they've got questions about God, questions about faith, about the Bible, questions about maybe just confusing or hurtful things going on in their lives that we want them to know we're here to help. And so we built these environments specifically for the purpose of creating a place where these conversations can happen. So those porch talks between campers and counselors literally happen every night of every week of every summer that we've ever had camp. Well, about a decade ago, we started kind of a new little facet of those porch talks, and we called them Porch Talks with Big Jon. Woodlands was growing. My role was growing, and I started sensing a disconnect between me and the summer staff. In the early years, I was very, very involved with the summer staff. In fact, my wife and I were kind of the de facto head counselors the first several summers. But I noticed this growing disconnect as the camp got bigger and my role got bigger, and I really wanted to rekindle that connection, at least in some form or fashion. And so probably in 2013 or 2014, one day, I announced to the staff, I said, hey, listen, if you've got questions or you want to talk or you need advice or you're frustrated about something, I'm just going to go sit out on the front porch of the lodge and I'd love to connect with you. And it kind of became a smash hit, so much so that now I kind of budget about an hour and a half of every afternoon during the entire summer to sit out on the porch. And in fact, we just built a new building where our offices are a couple years ago, and we built a porch specifically designed for Porch Talks with Big Jon, just a place where I can connect with our college students and just kind of help them process what's going on, whether it be in their life or in their summer ministry or whatever the case may be. And so as we were kind of thinking through just a macro level title for this, whatever this is, we thought Porch Talks with Big Jon would be relevant. Just a conversation where I can sit down and just share some things that I've learned that will hopefully be helpful for you. I mentioned earlier that the idea was to just share the fundamentals. And in this first little series, to me, some of the most basic fundamentals center around spiritual growth. I love the idea of fundamentals. I cheer for sports. I love sports. And if you know anything about football, kind of the most basic of the basic fundamentals in football are blocking and tackling. If you know anything about basketball, there's a backboard and rim behind me. I grew up in Indiana, so basketball is pretty near and dear to my heart. Some of the most basic fundamentals of basketball are defense and rebounding, things like that. And in our spiritual lives, there's fundamentals as well. That in short, like to get where you want to go, you have to do what you have to do. There's kind of no shortcuts. In fact, speaking of football, Nick Saban, who you may know has won the national championship with the Alabama Crimson Tide multiple times over. And as a Georgia Bulldog fan, I'm not a huge fan or even a small fan of Nick Saban or Alabama, but he nailed this idea of kind of doing what you got to do. I heard him interviewed actually not too long ago. And he was speaking about young people and just about kind of the shift in young people these days. And I want to read this quote to you, and we'll unpack it just a little bit, and then we'll kind of dive a little bit more into the content in the next episode. But he says, young people think they have this illusion of choice. Like, I can do whatever I want to do. And this younger generation doesn't always get told no. They don't always get told exactly how you need to do it. So they have this illusion that they have all these choices. But the fact of the matter is, and I think this is so important, he says, the fact of the matter is, if you want to be good, okay, again, he's speaking specifically of football, but this principle is about life, about leadership, about ministry, about your spiritual walk with God. He says, if you want to be good, you really don't have a lot of choices because, he says, it takes what it takes. You have to do what you have to do to be successful. So you have to make choices and decisions to have the discipline and the focus to the process of what you need to accomplish your goal. Man, I love that. And that principle is true, again, in every arena of life, that if you want to be good, if you want to be successful spiritually, if you want to take steps of growth in your relationship with God, it takes what it takes. Like, it's not enough that, oh man, I grew up in a Christian home. It's not enough that, well, I go to church sometimes on Sundays. Like, it takes what it takes to grow spiritually. And so in this series, I wanted to kind of unpack some of the most basic fundamentals. In fact, these are things that we share with every camper of every week of every one of our programs that it takes what it takes to grow. We know that this is true physically, that if we want to be healthy, it kind of takes what it takes. Like you have to eat right and exercise. There's no magic to it. There's no pill you can pop. Financially, it takes what it takes. If you want to be debt-free, like you've got to spend less than you make. You've got to be disciplined along the way. One of the goals my wife and I had, we wanted to see our kids graduate from college debt-free. And so since the day they were born, we started chipping away and saving a little bit at a time. Like it took what it took. I wasn't going to win the lottery. It took what it took. And spiritually, again, it takes what it takes. So over the course of the next 2 episodes, we're going to talk about the fundamentals. We're going to talk about what it takes to grow your relationship with God.